Hi everyone, hello again. Hope everyone's doing all right. If not, feel free to have a little stretch and a shake up as you sat. Based on that previous panel, which was really insightful, thank you so much. That's done half of my job for me actually around the links to sport. But what comes across to me there and the key message that I'm trying to promote really is why actually esports needs sport as well. And then on the flip side, sport can also learn from esports. And this is not me stood here saying from a sports background that esports is a sport or anything like that. It's that the two can exist side by side, and actually there's an awful lot of learning that can be done from both. My current role at the moment, my main job title is I am curriculum lead at Barnsley College, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about our journey. I've been sat in the audience many times before. I'm not here to try and brag or show off or teach people what they need to do. But hopefully through me sharing our journey, we've learnt lots of things, we've made lots of mistakes along the way, and it might give you some insight into some things that you could start to think about when you're planning ahead and looking forward to what you're going to do. So that's just a little bit of setting the scene as such. And I'm going to try and articulate the journey that we went on. Before I go into that, we've seen a lot of data today around esports, and the first thing that spiked my interest, and this is going back to 2018, was this statistic and this figure here on the middle of the screen, where I went, wow, look at all that money. That looks good. And I went, wow, look at all those people that are getting involved in esports. And then I went, what on earth is League of Legends? I thought, I've never even heard of it. But then I saw that actually more people around the world had viewed a League of Legends final than viewed the American Super Bowl that year. Now, I do know sport, and I am from a sports background. And just like in professional sport, in professional esport, yes, we have the players. We have that small percentage that do go on to become professionals. But in order for us to consume esport, in order for those professionals to reach their peak performance, we need coaches, we need analysts, we need psychologists, we need doctors, we need dietitians, we need sports therapists. We also need producers and journalists and commentators. We need people in advertising and social media and marketing and events organisation, and the list goes on. And I thought, well, that's us, that's sport, psychology and nutrition and health and well-being and fitness and leadership and teamwork and organising events. I thought, I've been teaching that stuff for the last 10 years. So that's what really spiked the interest. And that also coupled with recognition that American universities have started to offer esports scholarships, just in the same way that I'd been sending footballers to America on scholarships for years. And I thought, there might be something for us to do here, and there might be something for us to develop. In terms of the next statistic as well, you know, this is what an esports event looks like. And I'd not really seen this 4 or 5 years ago. It was only when I started to do the research that I saw how huge these events were, and we mentioned that earlier and discussed that. And we're talking huge amounts of prize money, and we've mentioned already the stresses, the anxieties, the performance psychology that comes around some of these pro tournaments. I thought, kids are doing this anyway. Some of us who have got a background in sport, we already have the tools and knowledge to be able to support this generation of people. And again, I'm not saying here at all that esports should live with your sports department. What I'm saying instead is try to work with them and try to bring in that expertise. Just like for me, working in the sports department, I've needed to bring in expertise from creative media and STEM and business to support what we do. So this is us. This is where we started. At the back end of 2018, we recognised that there was a bit of a gap in further education, that we had lots of students that were interested in gaming and esports. And actually what we noticed is that at this time, an organisation called Digital Schoolhouse, I know some centres are digital schoolhouses in here, as are we at the college, they conducted a piece of research and they found that 99% of 8 to 15-year-olds played video games. I thought, wow, you know, that's almost everyone. So what are we doing about that? You know, what are we doing about all of these young people who have this passion but don't really have anything to study other than traditional games design subjects and media-related subjects? But not all esports players want to be coders, right? They don't all want to be games designers. So what else is there? So we created a program. It was the first of its kind in FE, and we created a study program that consisted of enterprise and entrepreneurship, sport, health, physical activity, and esports. At this point, we started the program. We had 36 learners that enrolled onto that course across level 2 and level 3. And Laura, who you met earlier from Pearson, came up to visit us to say, Kalam, what on earth are all of these enterprise and entrepreneurship students doing talking about merch and shoutcasting? What is that? Came and met the students, and of course the students could articulate what they were doing. And that was the birth of esports for us really at Barnsley College. From there I was fortunate to come along and work alongside Pearson and British Esports to write some of the unit specifications, my background in particular around sport and business and enterprise entrepreneurship. And we started to deliver that then the year after when the qualification was launched. And we had 77 learners that enrolled onto that first year of the programme. From there now we're into our third year, and this year we've got upwards of 90 learners that study with us full-time on esports study programmes. And from next year we've launched a higher education provision. We're anticipating around 120 learners in further education who will study esports full-time, and then also a cohort of learners who will progress onto our higher education provision. So that's a little bit about our growth and our journey. And because of the way that colleges work, and we work on a business planning process and cycle, we've been able to reinvest a lot of that funding that we've had for our students. And I'm going to try and show you today a little bit around our facilities. And again, how that links back into sport. Not only that, but also how we design and deliver our curriculum, which is exactly the same way that we deliver our sports curriculum and have been doing for a number of years. So again, there are some real close links there. First, this video that I'm going to show you, and interestingly, Alex just mentioned it there around loneliness. This is what esports looks like on a Wednesday afternoon. So this is one of our 2 esports arenas at the college. Hopefully the sound works and it plays. And hopefully what you'll see from this is that sense of teamwork, leadership, communication. We've got 2 students here that are running the live stream and the live broadcast, and they're live on Twitch. And then in the room, we've also got 2 of our teams who are competing in the British Esports Championships as this video is taken.
Yeah. We'll see him. Yeah. We'll see soon. We'll see soon.
They have almost like don't know.
Can try here maybe.
We win! Focus Diva! Hold focus Diva! Diva! Oh, she jumped like she jumped off. We win!
So hopefully what you can see in there is a bit of fun, which I mentioned earlier, but also you can really hear the communication, the teamwork, the leadership, and what it is that they're doing and really being a part of that sense of community. Our esports brand, the Barnsley Griffins, sits as part of our sports academy. So our esports teams and our esports organisation, if that's what you want to call it, they get exactly the same treatment that our football team, basketball team, cricket team, netball team. You get the picture. They have dietitian workshops, they have psychological support, they have coaching sessions, they have analysis, and really that's to give those students who, some of which would never participate in a traditional sport, that opportunity to represent the college. However, that being said, some of those students also represent our sports teams and represent our basketball teams, football teams, and that's a real shift that we've seen over the last few years. Actually, walking past an esports classroom, we'd see all our footballers walking past. What are they doing? Are they just playing Fortnite? What's that all about? What, you've got a FIFA team? Can I join? Can I come and play? And we've seen that shift, and we've actually seen our traditional sports teams wanting to now engage in esports as well. And that's been a real shift in the sort of mindset and culture over the last 3 years. This next video that I'm going to show you is to try and showcase our facilities. It's a really, really bad version of me doing a MTV Cribs with some shocking editing. So I'm not taking myself too seriously. It's a bit of fun. But hopefully what it shows you is the facilities that we have now and how we deliver not just in one room or in one area, that we use multi-purpose facilities to meet the diverse needs of such a diverse curriculum across media, business and sport all around the esports industry. Hello and welcome to Barnsley College. My name's Kalam Neale and I'm really excited to show you around our brand new Digital Innovation Hub. So here we're going to step into an immersive world. Welcome into our VR and production room. In here, students will gain practical experiences for units such as live stream broadcasting, video production and shoutcasting. Welcome to our esports arena. Come and check it out. Welcome to our esports arena. Careful consideration has gone into this space to maximise the experience for staff and students alike. And two more key features of this wonderful space is we've got our sofa where we'll do all of the post-match interviews with the players, and then coming soon, we're really excited about it, our adjoining shoutcasting space. People always ask us, what is a griffin? A griffin, it's a legendary creature. It's a cross between an eagle and a lion. The griffin also features on the Barnsley coat of arms, alongside a miner and a glass blower. So it's also a nice nod to our heritage, so that our students and our players know who they represent. And this is where we study all of the health and well-being related aspects to the esports programme. Units such as health, well-being and fitness for esports players, nutrition for esports performance and psychology for esports performance are all studied here. And finally, this is our spin studio. Come take a look. And now to finish our tour, we're going to take you into one of our creative thinking spaces, and this is where students will do all of their pictures for the Enterprise and Entrepreneurship Unit. Follow me. And something extra special about this room, if you value privacy just as much as we do, we can get rid of that. So there we go. One thing that I want to point out there is we haven't developed all these facilities in the last 12 months. You know, this is us working collaboratively as an organisation, and that's what I'd encourage you to do yourselves. Contact the other departments that are within your organisation. You do need sports facilities, you do need digital facilities, you do need business facilities. In an ideal world, you might already have those within your building or on another campus. So when you're thinking about the design of your programs, consider that. What I've shown you there and some of the images I'll show you next, again, I just want to reiterate, these are the result of 3 years worth of reinvestment from this program. This is absolutely not where we started. We started on a sports campus with one room with 14 computers in. That was it. That's how we started our esports journey, where we've been able to grow that now over the last 3 years. We've created a number of esports spaces and facilities, and as you can see the difference on this one now, we have some branding, so we're trying to really get students to understand that producing an esports brand is important, and that's one of the units that they study on the programme, and really buy into who we are as a town, as an organisation, and that they're representing something. We've added that shoutcasting facility now, and we've got that separate space where, again, in year one we didn't have that. We had all sorts of chaos in the background, which sometimes is great, but we've now got the ability to produce more of a professional stream, which students are in charge of. Second room's a slightly different setup in pods, so that students can really work in their teams of 4 or teams of 5, depending on what titles they're playing, and they can get round the table. And then this room is right alongside those two computer rooms that I've just shown you. Probably one of the most important rooms we have in that building, just exactly to build on the things that were mentioned in the panel before, around getting students to really understand the importance of health, well-being, fitness, leadership, teamwork. The graphic that you can see on the wall is something that we've produced. Esports is, and what you won't see on that graphic for the purposes of this room is anything that says gaming. And this room is all about everything away from the PC and what contributes to part of a healthy and balanced lifestyle, and ultimately improvements in performance, as we've just heard. Next, and you'll see two of these resources available online, and this is what I alluded to earlier around the cross-curricular nature, is when you're thinking about designing your programs, think about your facilities, think about your staff, but one of the most common questions that I've been asked over the last 3 years is how do you convince parents, managers, senior leaders that this is a valid qualification, that it has credibility? And firstly, I follow my own advice that I gave you earlier around industry research and knowing your data and your statistics, understanding the careers that are out there. And the final piece of credibility that we now have in terms of that is, and again, as was mentioned earlier, we've just been through an Ofsted inspection where we had deep dives in sport and in eSport. And on our inspection report, you can see eSports is cited, and it's the first time that eSports has ever been cited in an Ofsted report. And that was a really sort of key experience for us in we thought we were doing the right thing, but now we actually know that we are doing the right thing. And we've learned an awful lot from that process. And I want to share a bit of that with you this afternoon just to try and prepare people for what Ofsted might want to see when they come into your organisation. Crucially, the redesign of our sport curriculum and eSports curriculum means that we deliver in a very similar way, which is what I'm going to share with you today. You can see in the report there the recognition of stakeholders and partners. Lots of people ask me, how do you get people on board? Well, you've got to ask. You know, for every 10 people that you ask if they'll support your program, 9 are going to say no. And it's about that perseverance and trying to get people on board with what you're doing for the benefit of the students on the course. Also, I would say, think outside the box. You know, in Barnsley, we're very limited in terms of eSports specialist employers or facilities. We don't have any. So we've had to really think outside the box and engage with sports clubs. We've engaged with the military, which is something that was mentioned earlier around the transferable skills. We've engaged with the public sector. We've looked at the public services, you know, emergency response, and actually our eSports students have a set of skills that are making them more employable. They're resilient, they can react under pressure, they can think with clarity under pressure, they can communicate effectively. And these are all skills that employers value, but some employers don't yet know that young people have these skills and that they're gamers. So we're trying to connect those dots. So I would just say, think outside the box a little bit there around when you're approaching people, trying to get people that aren't necessarily involved in eSports to understand what that is. Because what that also does, from a business point of view, is it allows that employer access to the next pipeline of employees. It also allows them access to a generation of people who are young who spend money online. And that's something that everyone's tripping over themselves thinking, how do we access this new generation of people? Well, eSports is a fantastic way, and you'll see lots of mainstream businesses involved in eSports at the moment. Moving on to the inspection briefly, and I won't spend too much time on this, but it's really about you owning that process and coming back to what I mentioned earlier around your curriculum intent, your implementation of that, and then ultimately the impact that that has. Inspectors will want to speak to you directly, and that won't necessarily be the head of department, or it won't be the curriculum manager. It'll be the teacher, it'll be the course leader, it'll be everybody. So does the teaching team, do the people in charge of those programs understand why you're delivering this program and making sure that that message is out there and that staff teams really understand that? Why is it structured in a certain way? Why do you do these units in year 1? Why do you do these units in year 2? Do you have a semesterized model? Who delivers on your program? What are you doing about developing students' cultural capital? Well, they compete in the British Esports Championships on a Wednesday afternoon, and we've got 3 learners in Barnsley on a Rocket League fixture against 3 learners in Basingstoke, and within 24 hours that video's had over 18,000 views. So talk about cultural capital. We don't get 18,000 watching Barnsley Football Club on a Saturday afternoon, but we had 18,000 people watch 3 of our learners. So eSports is providing a different avenue for students to develop their skill set. What we're doing about personal development and behaviours and attitudes, and the reason that I mention these things is the way that we deliver an element of our curriculum, which I'm going to share with you today, again, which is the same as sport, provides a little bit of an answer in hopefully supporting you to do that, and giving you an example of how that might work. Just before I move on to that, one of the key things that will then happen is the inspector, once they've talked to you about your curriculum intent, they'll want to meet students, of course. They'll want to triangulate all that wonderful information that you've told them about how amazing you are, and they'll want to check it with the students. So they'll want to see schemes of learning, they'll want to see assignment briefs, and they'll want to speak to learners. So to give you a quick example of the process, 3 learners invited into the room. Right, Kalam, can you tell me what units they're delivering this year? Right, this is what we're doing. Can you show me the scheme of learning from one of these units? Yes, there you go. Whereabouts are you up to at the minute with that unit? We're on learning aims C. Brilliant. Can you show me the assignment, please, from learning aims A and B? Yeah, there you go. And then they'll go to the student. In this unit, can you tell me what you did in the first assignment? Can learners remember that? And at that point, I was thinking, I don't know if they can. I had no idea. And then they look for specific terminology. And one of the key things in the framework at the moment is long-term memory recall and technical vocabulary. And the inspector were looking for that. He were looking in the specification, scheme of learning assignments for technical vocabulary. And he'd ask students about it. And to my surprise, they could answer him, and they could articulate, and they were eloquent. And part of the reason for that is how we can deliver these programs. That this is not just a simple download of the teacher's experiences, because I can't teach every unit on that specification. And I don't know everything there is to know about esports. But we can teach in a way to empower those learners and to get them to share their experiences, which means that they remember a lot of that stuff. He also, sneakily, I think, asked, what did you think when you joined this course and you realised you weren't going to be playing games all day? Which I thought was a bit sneaky. I nearly jumped in, but then one of the learners said, well, I'm really interested in business. And then one of the other students said, I really love events management. One of the other students said, I really like sports psychology. What are you wanting to do after this program finishes then? I'd like to go to university to study an events management degree. We've had a lecture from a university already. I'm interested in that. I'd like to go on and become a sports psychologist. I'm really interested in setting up my own business. And I think if your students can articulate that journey, why they're studying it and where it can take them, then that's 90% of the worry gone out of the window. One thing that I always like to talk about at this point is the pedagogical approach and what that is. And again, I'm not going to read that to you, but what I think is key here for me is thinking about this generation of young people that are coming through our education system. We've been told that they're not resilient. We've been told that the millennials, that the Generation Z, that, you know, all of these negative connotations that these young people are not what young people used to be. Well, we need to get on board with that, and we need to think about how we can adapt our practices in the classroom to make it fun, to make it engaging, to make it collaborative, to use creativity. And esports allows us to do that, as we discussed earlier on the panel. It really puts the power back in your hands as an educator, not to be limited and bound by something that's outdated, but actually to learn in such a collaborative and engaging way, which is what young people want. In terms of these two images, does anyone want to give me a shout at what are the differences there in those two pictures? What's the difference? What is happening differently in that top picture to the bottom one? Facilitating learning? Absolutely, yeah. What are the students doing? Yeah, they're discussing, aren't they? They're working together. That bottom image is what we may consider as an old classroom, but lots of classrooms in lots of schools look like that. And we're still teaching, lots of people are still teaching in a way that I'm the expert, listen to me, I'm going to teach you what you need to know to pass this exam. That session up at the top, that's an esports session in a primary school. So through our sports provision and the contacts that we have, and again, I'm encouraging you here, if you're not from a sports background, please speak to your sports department, because they will have contacts with primary schools and secondary schools, because they'll deliver school competitions, they'll deliver school sports days, they'll know all of these industry contacts and connections. If you are from a sports background, then you have them already. So as part of being a digital schoolhouse linked to our esports events and esports coaching unit, Ollie, who's sat down here, stick his hand up, Paul, that's Ollie. Ollie is our digital schoolhouse lead teacher and also leads on the events unit. This is an esports session up at the top where we're working on algorithms here, and we're looking at sequential thinking with no devices, with no PCs, with no technology, and we're teaching through play-based learning. And I think what we're trying to do is draw out the knowledge and the fun and the engagement that these kids already know about, but we're applying it to things that they might not know about. So we can teach quite complex subjects in a really fun and engaging way. The answer there, collaboration. You know, we're collaborating, we're getting them working together. this is what it looks like. So these are some images here of our local outreach. And again, this is what we've done in sport for years and years and years. It's about us actually going into the primary schools, supporting them, because, as I said earlier, whilst primary schools are great, they're really limited by the resource. You know, they've only got the building that they've got, whereas us as a further education college, we've got a great amount of resource. So let's share it with the community. So what we're doing here is we're going in, we're teaching computing and esports and health and well-being related concepts through play. We're doing it through dance, we're doing it through creating paper aeroplanes, we're doing it through colouring things in groups. And this has been key. And the beauty about this is I've not delivered that. Neither has Ollie. Our students have delivered that. And I mentioned vocational learning to you earlier, and it's exactly the same way we deliver our sports curriculum, sports coaching, sports events. Let's get the learners delivering these events. Let's get the learners working out there in the community, developing the skills. They might not want to become teachers, but we're arming them with this repertoire of skills to support them for their future careers. And as I said to you, esports can look like that. So I just wanted to show you those. It doesn't have to be all fancy and glamorous and LED lights. It can look like a normal classroom. So please don't be put off by some of the images I've shown you, but hopefully they might give you a bit of inspiration of where you can take your programs. People then ask me this question. They ask me about alumni. Where do they go? A variety of degrees. The beauty, again, about this program is it allows learners to progress into such a broad spectrum of careers and of avenues. I've had students who've gone off to university in the USA. We've got apprenticeships in sport, health and digital, military, I mentioned to you earlier. We've got one student who's just turned professional as a boxer. And then, like I said, we've got this diverse range of university degrees as well that's our first cohort of students that left us last year. I just want to finish on what's really important, and that's the students. It's not Ollie. Sorry, Ollie, it's not you, even though you're celebrating. It's the students. It's the young people that we work with. On the 8th of February this year, somebody shared a bit of an article with me, and I just want to read a little bit around what that article is, and hopefully today you can see how you can actually be more outward facing with how we deliver things and support that network. The Office for Students Fair Access Director on the 8th of February told colleges to pull their weight on pre-16 attainment. And that really pricked my ears up, because for years in FE and HE we've been concerned about pre-16 attainment. You know, students are not coming to us with skills, they're not coming to us with qualifications. And this article really sort of pricked my ears up, and it said, "We're expecting providers to pull their weight on pre-16 attainment, a challenge which affects us all. Universities and colleges have a moral duty to put their shoulder to the wheel of improving that wider community that they sit within. And as both educational and civic institutions, improving attainment in our schools is an essential part of that work." And I thought, we can do that. We can do that through esports. We've got the answer. We can have fun whilst we're doing it as well. If such work is not currently happening or is not appropriate, providers should seek to remedy that too, with new action beginning from September 23. I'm going to leave you with two examples that will hopefully inspire you to make this change a little bit for yourselves. And it comes back to our students, which are the most important thing and the reason that we're all here today. First of all, one of the schools that we'd engaged with when they came to our esports facility, the head teacher, she pulled me to one side along with the computing lead and said, "We've been really struggling to deliver computing in our curriculum. It's right down here on our list of agendas. Thank you so much for the way that you've come in and you've delivered, and our students have been really inspired by your students." When they visited us, she explained to me that they usually run off about 80% attendance, this year 5 class. This day, we had 36 out of 36 pupils, 100% attendance for the first time for that school all year, which I just thought was amazing. And then secondly, one of our learners who's on there, Reese in the yellow jacket. Reese is really quiet, he's really shy, really reserved. Not really been sure what he's wanted to do. He did a level 2 travel and tourism course. Then he moved across to level 2 esports, and he's now just completed an extended diploma in esports. And we're having conversations this year around not sure about his next steps. At one of these events, one of the head teachers came and spoke to myself and Ollie and said, "This learner's a selective mute. She's been in a well-being room at the school for the last 2 weeks. She's not spoken to anyone all week." And at that point, Reese went and sat next to her And within minutes, they were playing Rocket League, they were talking, they were laughing, they were joking, to the point where the head teacher pulled out her phone and said, I'm going to have to take a picture of this. I need to show her mum, which I thought was just amazing in terms of inspiring that next generation. But also then we spoke to Reese after the lesson and said, Reese, you all right? You know, how did you find that? He was like, yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, it's really quiet. So what do you think? He said, actually, I found it really rewarding. And he said, but I've never really felt confident enough. I don't think I'll be a good teacher. I said, well, did you see all the other staff that were with the school? He said, oh, yeah. I said, well, what do you think they do? They work in education. He went, oh, right. And Reese has now applied to university because he wants to become a teacher. So for me, what I think an effective esport and sport curriculum can do is completely transform the lives, not just of the students that are studying these courses, but also of the wider community as well. And I just want to leave you with one final short video which encapsulates all of that, that this can actually be a really engaging, really fun, really joyous thing that we're able to bring into education. And that's it from me. Thank you very much. If anybody needs anything, please get in touch. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kalam. Okay, right, so a quick update from me. We are going to make the time up, so we are going to finish on 4 o'clock. That means that we have to have a very, very short break now. So we're going to be back in here at 3 o'clock, which is in about 6 minutes' time for the last 3 panels, but we're going to sort of combine the last 2. So we're going to just do a little bit of time cutting there. So we should be finishing at 4 o'clock as planned. So yeah, 5-minute break now. Go get your drink, stretch legs, whatever, but be back in here for 3 o'clock.